Welcome to this episode of Sunny Silver Linings. Sunny's guest is Javid Khan. Javid is the Chief Technology Officer at IT by Design and was recently named to CRN's 2020 Next Gen Solution Providers Leaders List, a very prestigious industry list. We are excited to have Javid as our guest today. And now, your host, the founder and CEO of IT by Design, Mr. Sunny Kaila.
Javid, thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm super excited because I have so special guest with me, someone who is so near and dear to my heart, and someone who is with us from the day one and early stage ITBD, a startup ITBD, and we together traveled a great journey, that ITBD growth story. And I have so much love and respect for you, Javid, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Sunny, thank you so much for inviting me today. I'm very excited to be able to participate in this podcast. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Javid, now CTO for IT by Design, also working in the integrator capacity. Started with ITBD about 13 years ago, 2008, where I was running the streets of New York City as a regular field tech. Worked with ITBD along the years, saw ITBD grow into many different dimensions and many different domains. And here I am today as CTO for the company.
Yeah, amazing career story, the career growth story. And I still remember, Javid, when you came to the interview to 953rd Avenue on third floor, and we were sitting in the conference room for the first interview, and I was looking at your resume, and you were working more in Microsoft Access, I think, at that time. Yep. And I'm like, guy looks really, high potential, but don't have too much relevant experience with firewalls and routers and switches. And at that time, it was like Exchange 5.5. So those were the qualifying criteria items on my interview assessment sheet. And where I see Microsoft Access, which is good, but you didn't have too much IT infrastructure knowledge, like being very specific to our IT infrastructure clients, the small businesses in the city. And that was, I think, end of 2007, early 2008.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but then, I remember sitting in that conference room, and then, the decision was made that yes, when you see everything else from the cultural alignment perspective, and we were like, very early stage leaders as well. And now the type of culture interviews and things that we do at that time, we knew there's something like that which you should look at, but we were not really mature interviewers at that time when we did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into this a little bit in terms of, starting at that point where you did not have too much IT infrastructure knowledge, like, even for L1, it's like high potential L1 infrastructure engineer who knows Microsoft Access, and that, then you had the technical aptitude, and we have seen the core values and things that you were talking about during the interview, and we hired you. But then, so starting at that level in terms of the technical level, and then moving all the way to the highest technical position in the company for one of the biggest MSP in the channel, and we are probably number one privately held MSP right now in America. And being the CTO of that type of MSP, which is number one as a privately held, if not in the top 5, and being that CTO, so I am interested in, about that journey and what made you so successful. And within a very short period of time, you travel that growth all the way to the top level. So something that you have done that other professionals can learn from you.
First of all, thank you, Sunny, for that journey and the opportunity. I mean, that's definitely the opportunities that need to be availed. And I think that's the key, a big key to success. Having looked at 2008, there are a lot of people who were there with us who are not here now. People choose different directions, but sometimes you just don't make the cut. Everyone had the same opportunity as me, but I think I see the people who are still with us in the organization and who have had a similar growth. The key message I would say is be hungry, have the drive. So, when I think back at the story, I remember a week after I started, Sunny, you said to me, I need to install a firewall for one of our partners at 9, and they will only allow us to cut over at 9 p.m. in the night. And I said, Sunny, I don't know how to do this. I've never installed a firewall. I'll need some guidance. And you said, okay, Javid, just be there and I will guide you through the firewall install. And I reflect back and I think now if I do that with other engineers, many engineers will not jump at that opportunity. They'll say it's 9 p.m. at night. I can't be bothered. But the ones that say, you know what, I want to stay back and I want to learn the firewall, those are the ones who make it. So you remember David, who used to work with us, a very, very high potential engineer. He now has a very, very lucrative engineer working for career working for MTV. And it's because of the similar drive. I remember I learned from you. Now, if I went to the field after that, I would take David with me, and he always had his pen and paper ready to write down and learn as well. So, the key takeaway is be hungry. Look at every opportunity there is to learn and grow, and remember to yourself that if you don't do that, someone else will sit in that same spot and they will learn and grow. And that's applicable in my eyes to any position. I learned that message when I went from engineer to service manager, from service manager to duty manager, from duty manager to CTO, and CTO into COO. Just learn that if you don't do it, if you don't learn, if you don't gain that knowledge every single day, there is somebody who's going to fill that seat. The company always has a need, and you have to be the one to fill it if you want to fill it.
Yeah, and we always talk about either, especially when it's a growth company, that if you don't take those bigger chances or make bigger choices and you are not paying your dues, someone else is going to do that. But in a growing company, you got to keep yourself growing and taking those bigger opportunities that are bigger than where you are, and that will stretch you, grow you. But then you are not letting your role outgrow you, or you're not letting that next level opportunity to be availed by someone else, because you are working harder than anyone around you, and you are a lot more courageous than anyone around you. So you're making those bigger choices. And would you say that is more kind of that 9 p.m. opportunity to stay back, install that firewall? And it takes that courage. It takes that drive, that hunger that you're talking about, and it takes that grit that you need to have as a professional, right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's given that not everyone knows everything, right? I mean, we're born with limited, almost no knowledge. But as long as you are hungry and you have the passion to say, you know what, I'm going to make it, and people will fall, right? But if you're culturally aligned, you're in a good company, you've made the right decisions up until that day. Even if you fall, a good supporting company, they'll be there with you and they'll pick you back up, and that's okay. Let's learn together and let's grow together. So put yourself in that position to learn and grow together, and you'll see you'll prosper with the company along the way too.
Yeah. And at that time, we were just like, 3-4 people. And I remember that, installing firewalls, installing Exchange 5.5 or upgrading those Exchange 5.5 to, I think at that time it was 2008 or something, but still there was a lot of there was a lot of Exchange 5.5 adoption at that time. And when I remember doing that, I think for Mints and Frad, the Exchange 5.5 migration, and you were part of some initial Exchange projects, especially migration projects, and like, how do you do this? This is so complicated. But then you became the that Exchange expert, the go-to person whenever migrations will get stuck and other things get stuck in terms of Exchange servers. People go to you with their data center issues and everything else.
Yeah, I remember there was a time where Exchange 2010 was brand new. iPhones had just recently gotten the ability to start syncing with Exchange. It was brand new technology. People were just learning what iPhone is. Everyone had a BlackBerry until that point. And I remember a customer came to me and said, Javid, we need this feature. We need this capability. And I said, Sunny, can I upgrade our Exchange server tonight? And he said, sure, go ahead. Let's try it. And I remember spending weeknights slowly migrating Exchange. I remember one night mail flow stopped working, and I had to figure it out. And then that's when I learned about interop routing group connectors. But it was through those trials and tribulations that again, it went from firewalls to Exchange that I said I got to learn it. We have an opportunity as a company to spend dollars and find another partner company to teach us Exchange, or hire another engineer for a lot of money for Exchange, or I could be the Exchange guy. So it's like, Sunny, you gave me the opportunity. I said, you said, okay, have at it, install Exchange for us. And then we learned it and we did it together. And then, a couple months later, I was then teaching the organization how to do Exchange migrations and how to install Exchange. So, those are the fun times I look back that I could have said no. I could have been intimidated and been afraid to do it. But, I took the leap of faith, and you guys had the faith in me, and we did it together.
Yeah, awesome. Amazing. Thank you. Now let's talk about some trending technologies in the US. You are always going to these different webinars to nowadays with the trade shows, more of virtuals. So you are always in touch with technology, the trade publications. So what do you see trending with our customers, with our MSP customers? What technologies are trending up that technology professionals should kind of stay in touch with those technologies?
Absolutely. At the core, I'd say there's two very big things. There is security, and security means data availability, and you'll see a lot of cloud technologies being big with Azure, AWS, Nutanix. There's data integrity, meaning obviously the real security, right? That people cannot breach your networks. And then there's the integrity, the confidentiality of the network too, right? That whatever's in your network doesn't get exposed, and there's nothing going in or out of the network. So that's one big thing. That security that encompasses availability with backups and the cloud, and then the security testing, and then just making sure that people feel comfortable that policies are there to prevent any future attacks. But secondly, the other big one is automation. We ITBD have really embraced automation recently with our one-stop knock implementation, trying to drive a lot more efficiency through tools rather than people. Automation and artificial intelligence, that's the buzzword. And you've got to be up to date with really looking at business requirements and making the best use of the company's money, right? And the current way to do that is with efficiency. It used to be virtualization, right? Virtualization was the best way to save money. But right now, if you can really leverage automation and artificial intelligence, and you know how to do a lot of scripting and build these tools that save man hours, that's the way of the future right now. That's what you need to be involved with. So, we recently partnered up with Scout. That was a big move for us to get into the security space and make sure that, we know how to protect all of our assets. And then also now with our one-stop knock and those partnerships and moving more towards Azure services, that's how we're staying at the verge of the technology trends with those two things.
Yeah, thank you. So cybersecurity and automation being the key focus where a lot of action is happening. And now if I'm listening to this as a technology professional, so one thing that comes to my mind is, yes, cybersecurity, right? It's a kind of buzz, not only buzzword, it's everyone talks about it, and it is important. But what comes to my mind is that I want to stay as a complete IT infrastructure professional, where I know the overall architect of IT network, right? Mm-hmm. But what is that one piece or two pieces that I can start working on where if I'm not a just cybersecurity specialist, and I don't want to be a only one thing specialist, what are one or two things that you have, or what is your advice to me where I should focus in terms of my learning and development?
Sure, a great question. So very often, as I interface with a lot of different people in the domain, I see a lot of people go strictly down the security route, and they become these very high-end security professionals. I know policy authoring and all that. And then I see people who are good networking and infrastructure people. But very rarely do you see that good mixture. And I'll tell you, in the market, if you have good security credentials and you're an infrastructure engineer, you're gold. I mean, you are set for life because you know how to look at security best practices and policies, and you know how to apply it as well. And that's something that's proven very, very valuable for us. So if I look at my IT professionals, the ones that have maybe a Cisco security certification or a CompTIA Security Plus certification, but they also know things like firewalls, and they know how to apply ISO policies to Azure Cloud. Those are the ones that combined is a great mixture for us. So I would definitely go down a certification route, but know the external facing technologies such as firewalls, such as public cloud, such as servers, to help combine the two and make yourself a really solid, well-rounded professional.
That's amazing. Yeah, there's normally confusion as a professional. Okay, what do I learn first in cybersecurity? Because there's so many things to learn. So thank you for sharing that. Now, if I ask the same question in terms of automation, what's your advice to me if I am again IT infrastructure engineer who knows a little bit of everything? I want to learn more automation. I want to make an impact basically to where I can as a IT professional, I can be that trusted advisor for a small business that this is how you can leverage automation. What do I need to learn there?
Yeah, so automation has many different definitions, but in our industry, it's learning business requirements. So if I could say what I have to do to learn automation and get better automation, it would be learn the tools, right? Learn the requirements of the tools. So look at these RMMs that are out there and understand what they're trying to accomplish. And then secondarily, learn scripting, right? So apply the scripting to the automation tool. Because if you just learn scripting, you can script everything and anything, but it's not really applicable to anything. If you learn what the RMM does and the requirements of the RMM, and RMM is a remote monitoring and management tool. If you learn that, like Automate, Kaseya, SolarWinds, SCCM, learn those tools first, and then you learn how to script secondarily, that really puts you in the right direction of how to automate correctly.
Yeah, scripting can do wonders, or you can do wonders if you know scripting, and you can use that remote management tool to deliver with that script. And there's just so much you can do to add value to as a MSP engineer to a small business and for your own MSP. And one thing that I know you and your team, you guys were discussing overall ticket volume to things that, okay, what percentage of tickets are just noise coming from RMM? What percentage is more, they are more of a, we are kind of being reactive there, but if we do leverage automation with some strategic planning there with the with the infrastructure, that to prevent those reactive tickets, to save labor hours, so that your company, from the business value perspective, that your MSP is a little bit more profitable, because now rather than using this engineering labor to work on reactive tickets, now you're using the RMM tool as a technology, and your scripting and other understanding there to kind of scan the board and come up with common tickets that can be prevented by automation, right?
Yeah. I mean, where I sit at the executive level, it's not about, am I seeing my servers just online, or am I seeing antivirus tickets being handled, right? Where we have to look at this level is are the tools I'm using really driving down overall costs, right? When we first set up RMMs, from day one, they have tens of thousands of tickets. And I could spend lots of hours by just throwing bodies at the situation to resolve each ticket one by one. And that's very costly for me. But if I say, if I get a good automation engineer and I have them look at these tickets and I look at the frequency of these tickets and I create scripts and automation to self-heal some of these, that drives down man hours. So a good example is, we used to have lots of alerts for Exchange services stopped, right? That happens sometimes. Thresholds are met and the services get stopped. And I used to have an engineer that has to log in to the server, start the service back up, verify services. That's a half an hour billable of human time. Now with automation, with a good script, you can have the script monitor for these thresholds, monitor for these instances, start the service back up, and verify that all associated services are back up and running. So I used to have an engineer spend a half an hour of his own time doing this and wake people up at night to do this. Now I've got scripts that monitor for these thresholds and immediately verify it, and within minutes or less, start it back up and just send me an all clear alert. So as a CTO, that's a good cost saving for me, and that's where the value is, that my automation engineer is saving me lots and lots of dollars per year, rather than me have an engineer do this for thousands per year.
Yeah, and then you're happier because your service GP goes up.
Absolutely, gross profit goes up, and that's the key for us.
Yeah, so no, I totally agree with that, because sometimes when I'm having owner-to-owner conversations with MSP owners, and one thing that they tell us is because we have a really good number of automation engineers with Datto tool and Kaseya and ConnectWise, that the biggest struggle that we had when we were small MSP, that, okay, how can you have like one engineer or one technology specialist just focus on being proactive and, that preventative measures that you can take to save on the reactive labor hours. And now when we solve that problem with the RMM engineers that MSPs can leverage at a very cost-effective rate. And that's one thing when I talk to the customers, and they will normally say, Sunny, if there is one thing that our MSP got so much value with this relationship, is that you have saved your RMM engineer who is just focusing on my automation strategy is saving me a lot and adding a lot of value, because that was our weak area where we were just so busy putting up with fires and we didn't have too much time to sit down. And that focus time, that deep work hour that we talk about, that there was no deep work time that my engineers had, because they were kind of putting up with fires on a daily basis, and they wanted to do it, but they didn't have time. And sometimes as a MSP, you don't have those skills in house full time to do that, right? So I always hear really, really good stories, good success stories with our customers. So thank you for building that, cultivating that RMM talent within ITBD that we have. That if I say if there's an MSP with maximum number of RMM engineers, and that is probably ITBD. If not number one, we are in the top 5 companies to be that company where we were able to develop many RMM engineers, and with not only one tool, because there could be a company with the RMM tool where they have a lot more engineers than us that are specially trained on their tool, because that's their product. But we are tool agnostic, and we develop talent for the 3 major tools that are, and we are developing more with other 1 or 2 more partnerships coming our way. But 3 major RMM tools where they probably capture more than 80% of the MSP market, that we have many, many engineers trained on this, and they're well trained to a very high level that they can do a lot of automation, right?
Absolutely. We know that a lot of the tools, they have their strengths and they have their weaknesses, but the fundamentals of what's required are consistent. So we really do emphasize our the same core principles when we train our engineers on automation, on proper monitoring best practices, proper backup best practices, how to maintain infrastructures. Again, we train them that at the core, and then we give them the tools and the methodology within the tools and how to leverage that. Another great, very common success story that I'm sure you hear and I hear all the time is that, lots of our MSP partners used to be terrified to go to sleep at night. They used to be completely afraid to have vacations and take the weekend off. And they were so scared because they knew the minute they step out of the office, something was going to break, right? That's just the way IT works.
Or family dinner.
Or family dinner, yeah. So, and that just happens. That's such a common fear, and it's so unnecessary, right? With the automation and the proactive scripting and maintenance we put in place for many of our partners now, very often things break and they fix themselves, and people just know, okay, it's back up. So, very often now what happens is things break and we tell customers, hey, by the way, your server went down. We brought it back up via the script and all is clear. And it's probably a minute or two of downtime. And the customers are so happy that like, oh my God, I'm so relieved that you didn't have to bother me with this. But also our engineers are relieved that because we put these right tools and system in place, they're able to work on these better, smarter tools and systems and not spend their time and weekends trying to fix servers. So it's a real good position to be in when you're one step ahead of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. So now I know we are always hiring, and we have grown to now 500 plus people company, and majority of our staff is engineers. And you have a plan to hire 300 plus engineers just in 2021 and a lot more next year. And my question to you is, obviously you're doing something right there, that majority of the people that we hire, they are world-class. They are able to satisfy that Wall Street small business customer because they know what it takes in terms of communication and other things. So my question to you is, during your hiring, what do you look for? What are the 3 attributes that you look for during your interview that you are hiring the right person?
Yep. So at ITBD, I think our core values are everything, right? So you have to be happy. You have to have humility. You have to be accountable. You have to be passionate, positive, and you've got to really care about the community. And I think that, if you meet that, from there, you're a foot in the door, right? And then, secondly, I'll say, as a good professional, right, at any level, it's not just at the engineer level. It's also at the managerial level. It's also at the executive level. It's even in the supporting function levels. You've got to be a very good problem solver, and you have to have a very high drive to please the customers. And a customer does not always mean the external customer or the people who pay our bills. There's also internal consumers here, right? So you've got to have this will to say, look, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to be accountable. I'm going to make sure that if you ask me for something and I promise to deliver, I will deliver, right? So you've got to have, we talk about skill and will. I've learned through my years that very often I don't need somebody who's the most skilled person. I don't need you to be CCIE or MCITP everything, right? So that is definitely desirable, and we want to get you there. But to work with ITBD, you've got to have the skill. You have to have the will first. The will is the most important thing. The will to please our customer and the will to be accountable. Once you're there, again, we can work with you. We'll develop you. We'll build that the technical competencies or the business competencies that you need. But as long as you're culturally aligned with our core values and you've got that will to learn, that's any company's desire and their employees. And then from there, we'll work with you and grow you and further fill those competency gaps that may exist to get you where you need to be.
Yeah. Now, so one additional question there, so is there anything specific, or is there any difference that you probably add to your qualifying criteria checklist when you are hiring a pure technology person versus a technologist, where the role requires some people management, some leadership, the LMA role that we talk about in the EOS? If there is any one thing that you add to your interview sheet from attributes perspective.
Yeah, at the engineer level, you've got to be a good incident tactical problem solver, right? So something breaks and you know how to get it back online. Experience is good. So be very, very well versed in infrastructure or have the desire to be there. But at the managerial level, that will to solve a problem becomes that much more important, right? Because it's not just solving IT problems, it's solving people problems. It's looking at the strategic processes and solving the process problems. So that's so much more important, right? That I want to see a displayed experience and competency to solve problems, right? So, one thing I do with my trainings at all levels is solve problems, not tickets, right? At the engineer level, I like to see that competency and experience with solving tickets. But at any level, as you grow, it's solve the problem, not the ticket.
Yeah.
So when you're in there, I say, fix that Exchange service, fix this VM and bring it back online. But at the leader level, it's, I have to make sure that servers never go down again. What do I fix there, right? I have to ensure that people are not leaving the company and there's no attrition, fixing those problems. So it's really not just looking at one single isolated incident, one small issue, and making sure that I fix bigger problems. And I apply that to every single stage and learning and situation that I encounter.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot, because ability to solve a problem. And when you look at the business, there are major three components. There's a people component, then there's a process component, and then there's a systems component. So if you have the ability to solve people problem, process problem, or systems problem, you start with systems, then you think of probably process problems and then people problems as you grow to a leadership type of role. And well said, that having that ability to solve problems and having that creativity and mental toughness to solve that problem is key to success. Now, I'm going to go over our kind of those questions again. I know we always talk about that one thing, right? So where so from the career advice to trending technologies to the attributes and kind of advice for our professionals, our next generation. So if there is one thing that we have to pick in this area, so let's start with what you have done in your career. That only one thing, if you're limited to just one thing, what is that one thing that you would recommend other people should do?
Always be hungry. Have that desire to learn and to grow and to fill those voids wherever they exist.
Okay, awesome. So if there is only one technology out of the cybersecurity to automation and other things that you think are trending, and I want to only put one in my learning and development plan for 2021 or Q1 2021, what is your advice to me?
Definitely invest in automation. That's gonna be the next wave of the future.
Awesome. And are you saying that because automation can also probably you can automate a lot of cybersecurity stuff as
well? Absolutely. That I've seen so much security that used to be just like, I'm going to check this, and check this, and now they're all automated tools. You drop an agent and it checks your entire network. So automation is the way of the future. I
like that. The 20-80 rule. If this 20% can be learned, you can probably make a bigger impact.
Cover 80%. Yeah.
80%, including cybersecurity. If there's one attribute, as a hiring manager that you must have, what is that one attribute from the hiring manager perspective?
Look for the good problem solvers. You can figure out the skill and the competencies later, but being a good problem solver, that's the good one.
Okay, that's amazing. Yeah. Okay, problem solver. Now, if there is only one tip, I know the career advice you covered. Overall, for a really good career journey, where that career journey is giving you that joy, that life that you want, and you are really enjoying the overall your life journey. So look at things now from the life journey perspective, where career journey is a major piece of our life. And so from the career journey perspective, what is that one tip that you want to leave with our viewers?
Yeah. So definitely be aware of your surroundings. Know what's going on in all different verticals, all different facets, and learn it, right? You have to be aware and you have to be adaptable. And and as long as you adapt, you will have a place in any company, in any industry, in any domain. Just learn to adapt and roll with the flow. This is 2021 and we've got to do that now.
I thought you were going to share that stay with one company.
That's a given. As long as you have the right home and the company that's willing to grow and learn and fall with you, stay with that company.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, Javid, that so now looking, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. And I'm thinking, if I am, so with one company, the thought that we were talking about, and there's obviously that always that, something comes to our mind. Okay, am I missing on something, right? Am I, maybe what is out there that maybe I'm missing? So what is your, so I'm sure you have gone through that struggles and thinking, and I'm curious to know. You are a person who reflects a lot, and when you reflect on that and something like that comes to your mind, so what comes to your mind and how do you address that and how do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon to think that the grass is greener on the other side, right? Like I said, be aware of what's out there, but always weigh your options, right? I mean, as you know me, Sunny, by nature, I really do overthink everything, but it's helped me, right? It's helped me with security and stability and mental relief, that I weigh my options. I look at, what opportunities there are elsewhere, but also what risks are out there. And also what are the opportunities with this company I'm at and what are the risks. And with this, I found that, this company, the opportunities vastly outweigh the risks and any other challenges that I will encounter, right? So never think that because you go somewhere else that you will be without risk, you will be without challenges. The day you stop looking at risks and stop encountering challenges is the day you become obsolete, right? So look at what the opportunities are and think, are they going to benefit you? Are they going to really help you grow as a human being, grow for the future, and become sticky? And as long as you can avail them, as long as you're hungry for those, stay with that company. I would not change at that point. But if you see you're at a point with a company where you're not growing and it's not aligning with you where you want to be as a human being, then you should start looking around. But until then, ride the waves.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. A lot of valuable insights, and they are not just kind of from the book knowledge. And you have so much hands-on experience, and everything that you shared is very, very from hands-on, and then experiencing that journey that you experienced. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your experiences with me and our viewers. And also, thank you to always add that value to our community and really caring about everyone. And this growth is not possible without you. So we appreciate it and we thank you. And special thank you, where not only you do a great job in the role, but you're always reaching out to our community here, like the 3 pillars that we talk about with our internal ITBD community, with the channel community, with your CRN award there as well. That's a sign, that's a symbol that not only that you are internally involved in adding value, you're adding value to the channel as a leader and our clients. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sunny. And I really appreciate the opportunity. And again, we're a company that you've taught me that as long as a community sticks together, they grow together. So I'm here for this community and the partners as well.
Thank you for watching this episode of Sunny Silver Linings. Please be sure to like and subscribe so you do not miss any future episodes. If you are interested in exploring a career with IT by Design, please visit our website at www.itbd.net or www.itbd.in. We'll see you in the next episode.